Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Laststandgamers, and welcome. So today we're taking a look at another beautiful ship from the Steam Workshop. In fact, this is the BS-75 Galactica, and this one's been created by Husker, one of our very own moderators. We've seen some of his work here before, and I have to say this one doesn't disappoint. It's bigger, has a crazy level of detail, and it's also got a few smaller little ships attached to it that operate as turrets. Very, very cool indeed. So let's do it how we usually do, from tip to butt, and we'll start right here at the front. So having a look, just look how he's managed to capture the curve of all the Battlestar Galactica ships. I have to say, building a curved ship in Space Engineers can be a challenge in its own, especially when it comes to continuing that curve over a large surface area. You can see how he's slowly extended out the areas, as well as adding the detailing and colour contrast in some of them blocks. We've got a lot of greys, different tonage going on there, as well as these recessed areas to create shadowing along the front. A lot of detail, a lot of time must have gone into this. So you can see as we come around the front here, it tucks underneath into this really nice control area where we've got a little bit of a turret going on in this section. You can see the little seat there, so these guys can be accessed, fired manually. Oh, they're just beautiful little bits of design in here. You can imagine a whole crew aboard these guys fending off some attackers. Maybe we'll have to give it a bit of a go in a mini scenario. So you can see we've got all the lighting down here, just providing a little bit of detailing, and as we wrap ourselves around, we've got the two pod sorts of cells on either side. Now these cells are used, of course, to launch the smaller type fighters, but look at the detailing he's got here. He's used the transparent screens, he's got the logos in there, all correct, and then we can enter through into the hangar, but we won't do that just yet. Now if we look here behind these little winglets, we've got this lovely sloped armor section just wrapping around the ship with all the detailing and lighting. Just look at the little bits of detailing going on here in this section, and how the lights have actually been covered up with a little catwalk type pad with two of the railings on either side. Just so much time and effort has gone into building this. Now as we bring ourselves around the top, you can see the two connection points for both of these cells here, detailed with this almost looks like a little venting type housing, maybe to cool off some of the gases from the engines. Also wrapped around here to the side, you'll notice the various different launch bays, the little triangular slits there with that cool little blue ambient lighting. Of course, I've got some interior turrets tucked around the side there, a really nice addition. Of course, from a functional standpoint, you probably wouldn't take this into a real Space Engineers battle because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles a functional ship would need, but from a looks perspective, this is gorgeous. So let's have a look at these thrusters from the rear, and then we'll wrap ourselves around the top. So as we go through the rear of the landing bay, we start to curve into the thruster housing. So you can see we have got a total of 6 thruster pods. We've got one at either side, and Husker's done a really smart job of tucking all his stuff inside the ship, so you will notice there is some empty areas and there is some bits, and Husker will have a go at me for going deep into the areas that I shouldn't be going into, but you can see these ain't actually really thrusters, they're just blue lights to add that ambient effect, and that effect they do add. So you can see over the top of the engine bay area, we've got this engine deck, so that's really nicely detailed with these round objects, as well as some of these just cutting into some shadows and creating more shape and depth to it. We've got this ribbed area to the rear of the engine, and let's just have a quick look underneath as well. So you can see the detailing continues on into this section, just curving throughout the components. That's difficult in its own. We've got ourselves some more turrets tucked in this area. I like how it's got a little simple red light there, just to bring some attention to whoever might be piloting this. And of course, all these guns can turn and fire in a battery. So let's go into the interior, but before we do that, I just wanted to show a little bit of respect to these logos. Now these aren't just painted on Galactica logos, he's actually embossed them by placing blocks down. That is something really cool indeed. And you can see over here, we've also got another one of these Galactica type logos. Really nice, beautiful bit of detail in there. So we need to kind of pick some key rooms to go to when we go inside here. So we're going to start with the hangar base. We're going to jump to the various different conference rooms, brigs, and other locations he's got laid out around this ship. So we've got the landing bay here, complete with lighting, a little control room up there. And if we drop through, we've got the launch hangars down here at the side. There is 5 in total. Cool little bit of usage of them clear LCDs to mark out the floor. Also, we've got the pipes tucked in this sort of area above. I really like this. Every section of this ship, Husker's gone through with a fine-tooth comb and, of course, tried to replicate as much as he can from what he's seen. But there's some areas where he's going to have to think a bit of creativity to it. He's going to have to kind of put his own space engineer's twist on, and I kind of enjoy that a little bit more. So you're probably wondering what's powering this ship since we can't see any thrusters. So let's dive inside. I know Husker's going to cringe at me for doing this, but as we dive inside here, we can actually see what's running this system, and it's these little thruster pods that you can see in this section here. So it's these squared blocks, and basically all the thrusters fire at each other, but they don't actually damage each other because they're the correct distance away, and that's what allows a ship to fly like this without any external thrusters. Now, Husker, we are going to continue. I'm going to warn you, clipping through the beautiful ship that you've made. So we're actually now in the cargo bay. So the cargo bay is located at the front of the ship, and the reason I'm doing a lot of this clipping through is if I follow the hallways, I am in here for pretty much hours, and then I get lost and confuse myself. So you can load in the cargo through this section, and then of course you can take this through the ship through these various detail corridors. Just have a look at these, really nice. We've got the RCS in the bow, so if I drop down there it takes us back to the thruster room that we were looking at before. We've also got other little corridors like this. It's endless corridors. I think this is like Husker's fantasy. It's just corridor after corridor leading somewhere. The next time, Husker, you're going to have to label your corridors a little bit, or leave me a map plan of how to get around. So we've got the bow cargo, and that just leads us back around there. So before we get lost and sucked into his endless interiors, let's jump in over to the next section so we can work out where his interior components are, because what he tends to do is put a little bit of a box around them. So we've got like this little pit that you could fall off and drown in down there. And if we actually have a look through here, we have the bow cargo, and through this wall, let's just try not to blind you too much, we've got these various different storage areas, and we can actually access the floor to go up to the next level. Now let's cut back through, and we're going to go over to more more hallways. We've got the air lock over on this side. You can see they can access through these double doors, and they're out in this sort of cargo airlock that drops you outside of the ship. So let's go back into the interior and keep swimming around with all these blocks. So if we have it, we can have a little bit of a clip through, and we can actually go down to the command and control center. So this is controlling the ship. You jump in that chair down there. In fact, I'm going to leave my character down here for when I come back. We've got a little bit of a meeting room complete with wooden desks and wooden floor. So when you're streaming to all the other ships out there, or the enemy fleet commander, you've got a nice background for doing so. So as we continue working our way to the rear of this ship, we've actually got ourselves another large, I guess this is kind of the main control center of the ship itself. The other one's like a hidden away one, but this is the one that everyone knows about and people are going to breach for. You can see the use of the small ship blocks in there. It's creates a little bit of detail. A lot of these panels are around the ship. Lots of logos go into this Battlestar Galactica type builds. You can see we've also got a computer, an LCD, and more ambient mood lighting by Husker himself. So let's keep working our way through the corridors. You can see the corridors are up in that section there, and if I go through them, I'm going to get myself lost. We've got various different production at the side here. Let's continue working our way through into another one of these corridors. More crew quarters for personnel. And you can see there's more crew quarters there. On this actual deck, we've got an infirmary. That's in that section. I'll slide on through. We've got the brig. That's in this section here as well. We've got a firing range. That's just up here. Look at that. We've got the LCDs and everything complete with that. So if you are aiming down at a target, you could perhaps press a button and the LCD would light up with whoever you're going to try to shoot at. And as we come into this rear section here, let's just continue moving through the walls. We've actually got the staircase that'll lead us between the decks. And I'll tell you, when I first went in here, I was so lost. I felt like I was in here for hours just trying to figure out my way through. So some signposts, Husker, please. And as we come into the back, we've actually got the FTL drive. So you can see we've got this lovely glitter type shaft. It looks like a giant drive shaft. Below here, we've got the backup and auxiliary reactor. Really cool indeed, and that leads us through one of them walls to a little bit of thrusters tucked in the back and out into the rear. So hopefully Husker is okay with me showing you some of the guts of this ship, but let's see how this thing sings. So to say, let's grab ourselves a cockpit. This is not the main cockpit, so I'm guessing the main cockpit is actually up on the bridge above. It's going to be, isn't it? It's going to be another make your way through all the areas, Aaron, and try not to get lost to find the cockpit. Okay, so it's not through there. It's a little bit further forward. Not through there. And into here. Let's see if we can access the flight control from one of these, perhaps. This is not main cockpit. Where is the main cockpit, Husker, please? Help me. Help me here. This is the main cockpit. Woo! Right, we've got there. Let's see the controls. So what have we got lined up on this bar? We've got condition 1, condition 2. We've got the view cameras. We've got engine startup. So let's try number 6 in a second. And we've got engine shutdown. So start up. Okay, we've started the thing up. Getting a little bit of lag from all them thrusters, but that's what you expect from a build this time. And we've got engine shut down, so number 7. Okay, not noticing too much difference. So we've got the different conditions. So we've got condition 1. Okay, so that's red lights. Yeah, engine's off with that one. Okay, we've got condition 2. Let's check that. So is that a flashing red light? Oh no, okay, no, that reverts it back to normal. Very cool indeed. And let's fire up them engines. So we're going to go to out the camera, check the engines out from behind, fire them up. Okay, so is it like a sequence? I guess they light up in sequence. Very cool indeed. It doesn't like me firing all these thrusters at once. The size of this ship moving about. Oh, a space engineer doesn't like it. Let's try moving. We saw a lot of gyroscopes tucked underneath. But yeah, this thing moves like a heavy ship, I'm going to tell you that. Let's have a quick look at some of the specs on the info tab as well while we're moving this around. So, wow. This thing is a big boy. If you put this on a server, you are gonna be the server. Anyway, let's thank you guys for watching. A lovely ship from Husker. Another great one that you should definitely check out from his collection. There'll be a link down in the description below, and I will see you next time.